Go ahead and share my screen.
Great.
I have brought you here today because I would like to give you a preview of a funding / investment in the Writing Project opportunity that has come to the Writing Project, and that has impact for California, and invite you to consider over the next month whether this is an opportunity that would be right for your Writing Project site. As a preview, when we get to the end, I'll again delineate next steps after you've had an opportunity to hear about this. But basically, we want to tell you about this now, give you over your winter break to think about it and to talk to colleagues at your Writing Project site, and then to let us know in early January if you want to participate in this opportunity. So what I want to tell you about is a project that we're going to run with investment by Panda Cares. And Panda Cares is the, oh my God, my glasses are broken. It's Friday. I'm really having a hard time today. Panda Cares is the family foundation that is connected to Panda Express restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
So Panda Express restaurant chain is owned by a family, and they have invested in some of their profits in a foundation that's interested in serving communities, which are Panda Care communities. Although they're not thinking like, if you don't have a Panda Care restaurant in your town or Panda Express restaurant in your town, you can't participate, but rather they're thinking statewide. So they want to make this investment in 7 states. We have talked, you are our last set of writing projects. We've talked to writing projects in all of the states. And those investment, their interest, this is the first time we've worked with them. They are really agnostic about the program. So we developed a program based on what we know about the network and some places we'd like to do work. They're really interested in putting money back in communities that they are, that Panda Express is vibrant and viable in, I guess. So, we designed, after a conversation after they expressed interest in working with us to make these education investments in these 7 states, Elise and I worked together to design a program that we thought would fit their interests and the interests of the network. And that's what I'm going to tell you a little bit about today to give you an overview. The investment by state, by their decision, is sort of balanced by their interests, I guess, in those states. So it's a decent investment in California, it's as a state, and how that money's going to, I'm going to talk to you about how that money's going to be dispersed. And part of the reason for an informational call now and then a second call in January, once we know who wants to participate, is we have a certain amount per state, and then how that gets distributed across sites will probably just depend state to state. So before worrying about that or jumping into those details, let me tell you about the program. Also, I didn't say this call is a lot of me talking for about 15 or 20 minutes and then a discussion. So feel free to take notes or make notes of places where you want to ask questions. If you have a question, you just can't let the call go on until you have that answered. Feel free to interrupt me, but otherwise just collect your questions and we'll have plenty of time to talk about them at the end of the call. So, Panda Cares. They want to invest in education. They're pretty agnostic about what that means. They don't have a particular agenda like working with English language learners or new career teachers or a particular grade level. So we made some decisions on that based on some interest in the larger educational arena and in writing projects recently. So what we proposed, and they were very excited about, was to use their money to create a network within NWP network of early career elementary school teachers who would have the support to to support their commitment to the profession, to have an opportunity to be mentored by experienced colleagues within the writing project, and able to bring leadership to their school in the form of some sort of family literacy program. So the way this is an 18-month grant, the money will be available to us in January. So it'll be from January 2020 through the end of the 2021 school year. Yes. So we would support these early career elementary school teachers by providing the opportunity for them to attend a local site's invitational summer leadership institute. So one big question about whether this is a good fit for you or not is whether you're having a leadership institute this summer. And if you are, if it's configured in such a way that an early career teacher with 1 to 5 years of experience could participate in a meaningful way, that would be necessary, I think, to do this, to participate in this grant. So the Panda, we're calling these fellowships Panda Fellowships, and the early career teachers Panda Fellows. Somebody on an earlier call suggested they should have to wear panda suits, but we are not requiring that. And after the Summer Institute, they would be supported by your site through a mentorship that you design through the next school year. So they would attend the Summer Institute this summer. Then over the course of the next school year, they would receive some kind of mentorship and support. And in that time, they would be working to design a family literacy event. It could be a family literacy night. It could be we have many models, and we can talk about that too. It could be designed with your input and support. But that's the big picture of the grant. So I've done this so many times, I think I'm bleeding from one slide to the other. But just to run through the project description again, a Panda Fellow would attend your ISI or other teacher leadership development program this summer. They would receive that training as well as ongoing support in the following school year to design, implement, assess, and disseminate a family literacy program. Your writing project sites would receive support and technical assistance from the National Writing Project for participation in the project. So you'd have a networked online community. We'd meet once a month. If you participate, to just sort of sort the work, how's it going, sort case studies and stories, and raise and work through problems. The Panda Fellows would also be participating in an active online network, and that would be designed by the National Writing Project. They'd meet other Panda Fellows from the 7 states in a once-a-month call, and those would be focused on the whys and hows of working with families. I'm jumping ahead. Sites will, what sites will do is first, in the next month, decide if this opportunity is right for your site. If so, you'll attend a second informational meeting in January, and at that January meeting, you'll receive the MOU from us, which will explain, as you know, for your institution as well as yourselves, what are you agreeing to do? What are we agreeing to do? How will the money be dispersed, etc. If you sign up and sign on, you will recruit the agreed upon number of early career teachers to come to your Summer Institute. I'm going to talk about that number in a minute. You would also recruit ATC or more to serve as a mentor for the early career teachers in that year following the Summer Institute. Someone from your site would participate in monthly program development meetings, and you would support these Panda Fellows through their 2021 school year to design and implement a family literacy project, as well as help us document the projects across the program. And finally, there'll be some money also for your state to do something to disseminate information. So you could bring all the Panda Fellows to Kate, or you could do a presentation about the work at Kate, or you could have a meeting just for the Panda Fellows, or there could be all kinds of things. We can talk more about that too. But here's what the writing project will do. We will provide support, and the support, which is not how we generally have written grants in the past, so I want to make sure everybody understands that the support is per fellow. So each site will, each fellow, each early career teacher recruited to be a Panda Fellow will receive $1,000 stipend, and they'll also receive $500 to support the family literacy project that they design and implement. They will also get participation in this online course around family working with families. Each site will receive $1,000 for each Panda Fellow that you recruit and support, as well as an online network support opportunity. And for what it's worth, which might be, it's in some places this does not seem to be like a big draw. In other places it really is. Connection to your local Panda Express and community outlet, or in their community support programs. And then each state, as I said, will also receive some support to design and implement a statewide event or dissemination moment. So the grant as it's constituted to the National Writing Project has money for 50 Panda Fellows in California, which means if every California site wanted to participate, they could recruit 3 Panda Fellows. And you could fight over the remaining whatever. But I assume, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if some sites aren't able to participate in this because it's not a good fit, you don't have early career mentors, you're not going to have a summer institute this summer. There would be a lot of reasons why this wouldn't be a great fit, which would then mean the number of fellows you could recruit in the summer would be more than that. Maybe nobody wants more than 3, but because the grant attached is per fellow, in a way, having 4 or 5 fellows gives you a more substantial chunk of money that you can, and an opportunity to use the money a little differently because you might mentor fellows in groups, etc. So I've tried to give you the big picture and anticipate some of the questions because, as I said, this is the 5th time, I think, or something that I've done this call this week. So I also know it's like teaching the same prep for the 5th time in a row. Like I may have thought I said something and skipped it. So I am gonna stop sharing my screen so I can see more of you and ask about what questions you have or what you'd like to discuss with me or each other.
Okay.
Could we include middle school teachers?
Ask that question again, please.
Could we include middle school teachers?
No, sorry. This is an elementary school opportunity. So
Okay.
really, yeah, we've decided to focus on elementary school teachers in large part because there's kind of been a push from the network to us that we don't have enough programming for elementary school teachers. So
Specific grade levels?
I haven't really said, so whatever elementary school means in your place, I think would be fine. So we have, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I think anything K to, like here would be K to 5 seems reasonable to me.
The other question I have is, you say there are program development meetings. Where and how do those take place?
Oh, like this, they're Zoom meetings.
Okay.
So we would schedule them out. Kathleen's really great at this. We'd schedule them and get them on people's calendars once we know who's in the program. And then we just have like a once a month meeting like this, and people can raise design and development questions. Like, is anybody having trouble recruiting? Or our early career teacher cried at the Institute today and it was really upsetting, or whatever things come up in the design and implementation of a new program. We would just be supporting each other to work through them.
Is there a stipend for the mentor, or is that what we could use the $1,000 for?
That's what you can use the $1,000 for. So when I say that, what I want to be clear about is that if you recruit one fellow, there's not a lot of room around that money. But if you ended up having 3 or 5 and had a $3,000 to $5,000 grant, I just want to remind people you can be flexible. That money is to support your site, to support the mentorship of the fellows, but it doesn't have to be a one-to-one. Each fellow gets a mentor who gets paid $1,000. You might have one mentor a couple of people. You might use money for meetings or other things your site might incur costs for in participating in this program.
Have you considered or have you any advice to us regarding the many kinds of support that early career teachers have? For example, BITSA. I think we don't want to run afoul of schools' agendas, which can be very rigid.
I totally agree, Bob. And I think it's probably an issue in every place, and it may be more of an issue in California because there's a lot of regulation and whatever rules and supports both for early career teachers. But so the first thing I'd say is to give you some flexibility. I am telling people that I think early career can be anything from 1 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you could choose to recruit people who are sort of beyond their BITSA experience, but still fairly new in the classroom.
Yeah.
You could also think about whether, like, you might have a school that has a crew of early career teachers, and that you could connect to them and help and be part of the plan. So I'm not saying there's any one way to do it. I'm trying to remind myself, even if I have an idea of what it might look like, that there's more than one way to do this, and that we can talk together, and particularly around BITSA and some other early career supports, people in California might want to have a conversation together about what would be best.
Tanya, is it possible to, I think you know, and a lot of the colleagues here on the call know that we've moved to early career for our summer institute already. Right, last year we had 15 teachers in their first 5 years of teaching, and we're going to continue that for the next 3 summers as we try to build a base of those teachers and keep them in teaching. So the only thing I'm curious about at this moment, because this is all really cool and super exciting and fits what we're doing, is is that money a little bit flex in that since everybody in our SI is early career, can we do like 500 for an SI and 1,000 when they do the family literacy? And the only thing I'm nervous about is creating these kind of, how much are you getting? How come you're getting more money as a stipend than I am just because I'm a high school teacher in my first, right? So I just wondered, do we have any flexibility around that?
Right. So that is a good question. And I am going to say tentatively that we want to work with you to make a plan that works. So Elise is on vacation, as she very well should be, but so I'm not going to say definitively what the flexibility could be. I am saying this question comes up also even if you don't have all early career teachers around the Summer Institute. So though my slide says they would get the $1,000 when they finish the Summer Institute, I think, first of all, that's flexible. I don't think we care terribly a lot about giving it at a particular time. So we can talk about that again in January, but it can be attached to the year's work post-institute. It doesn't have to be attached in its purpose or it can be for the year-long fellowship. It doesn't have to be. I think sometimes Elise and I, we just sit together and we're like, Oh, this is a great idea. And we get ourselves all wound up. And then later I say, did we say that? So I have recognized across the calls that tying that to finishing the Summer Institute is somewhat problematic. So I think the important thing to say is that we will, that fellowship is attached to the person finishing the fellowship, and we can figure out the best way to do that. We also think right now, but I also have to work this through a little bit in our grants and contracts office to make sure we think we can do this. But we think it might be easier for sites if the Panda Fellowship money to the fellows, if that part comes from our office to them, so that you don't have to be paying some of your people and not other people. So, but more on those two questions, I would say don't let that particular amount like stop you up, and we'll come back more prepared to talk about that in January.
Tanya, a couple of questions. Because we have two people that have been to our most recent two invitational summer institutes who are parent engagement specialists, who have been running our parent program and the Saturday seminars. I'm thinking that they would be ideal co-directors of a summer institute, but up till now, we haven't planned a summer institute with that particular purpose. But these two are high performing TCs, and I would love to get them involved in. Is it possible to organize an institute with that goal in mind, with the goal of having everyone in institute go on to family literacy program? As you know, we've already done that once with our site, a family literacy program.
Right.
I'd like to do it with a little bit more focus.
So I say, if that sounds possible to you, more power to you. Right. I did not want to come on the call and tell people, you all have to do this, and if you don't have a summer institute, you better make one.
Right.
Oh, but if you have people, it would be great to lead that kind of summer institute, and you have, and you think you can recruit enough Panda Fellows for us to be able to give you enough money that is viable, then that'd be great.
Yeah. That was actually my essential question was, can we run a summer program with this as our focus? So all the participants, I guess, just like at Chico, would be early career elementary teachers.
Yeah. So after we know how many sites are interested and how many fellows people are interested in recruiting, in January, I'll be able to give you a better sense of how many per site in California. Right. And then you'll know better, like whether this is on our part, a $3,000 investment in your site or a $10,000 investment in your site.
Any idea if there are strict definitions for what constitutes an invitational summer institute in terms of hours?
No. Yes, I have an idea that it's totally up to you.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah, we are going to trust your professional development or your professional knowledge about what you would do as a leadership development program for anybody in your place, and particularly for early career teachers.
My question, if I'm recruiting Panda Fellows who work at the same school, can they team to produce one family literacy event, combine their $500?
Yes.
Bigger events? I'm guessing yes, given the kind of your flexible nature.
Yes. And I think it would probably be, if that is a situation that's possible in your site, and in some places it might not be at all, but I feel like that would kind of be an ideal situation for people to, if you have a set of early career teachers in one school who could work together, support each other, have each other's back, and do something that's not just on their shoulders. That's probably great.
So the question after that is about that distribution of money for them to support the event. I think you're right that it'd be best if the fellowship money went directly from NWP to the Panda Fund. If it comes through my campus, I'm going to lose part of that money. And I hope that you're thinking the same for the $500 kind of event support. And I'm just wondering, how would that work?
Yeah, I am thinking the same for that. And I will have the answer to the second part of the question, how will that work? in January. So I want to, Elise and I, with all our knowledge about grants and contracts and giving people money, have come to this decision. And it is now, between now and the next time I talk to you, my job to check all of our thinking with our grants and contracts person, who sometimes tells us, you cannot do that. And then we have to start again. But we know the things people might want to buy for this sort of event: kids' books, art supplies, snacks, are sometimes hard to run through the university. So our sense is that we would give them individual $500 grants. And we haven't done this, at least not in a long time, from our office, but we have done it with teachers through the Marcy Resident Teacher Fund, for example. We just make grants for classroom work directly to teachers. It seems to work okay. So I'll give you the direct answer about how in January, but we think we can give that money also directly to the teachers. These were all really good questions. Thank you for asking them. Do you have any more?
The only thing I can think of is that there might be.
Tanya's disappeared.
I'm listening. I just couldn't stand being in the dark anymore.
Yes, good. Much better.
Me too. All right.
We approve.
Okay. Sorry, your question.
Yeah, I'm. Given the LA Basin geographical proximity, I'm wondering if collaborations across projects might be possible, or might be of interest, or might be desirable.
Yes to all of those things, Bob, except desirable. You'll have to talk to your colleagues, but
well, yeah,
the funder is really flexible about how the work gets done. They want to support a certain number of teachers across these different geographic areas. We are experimenting with some flexible new ways of thinking about funding and work. So anything not outrageous that you, or, illegal that you propose to try out on this, I think this is the kind of size of grant and the kind of funder investment that allows us to play a little bit with money and opportunity. So
it just might be, there might be a moment where that question comes up before we meet again. Good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep them coming. These are great. Nobody's asked that question. So these are not only great questions, but new questions.
Well, clarify again what the funding is for the person who serves as a mentor.
So that's kind of up to your site. Your site will receive. Your site will receive $1,000 per Panda Fellow up to whatever ceiling we decide.
Right.
And then you will decide whether you pay one person $1,000 to mentor one person, or you want to be more flexible or creative with the way you invest those dollars.
Right, but if the money for the Panda Fellow is going right to the Panda Fellow, then that flexibility will be awkward.
I don't think so. I mean, I see why you're saying that, but I just think I would tell people these things. The National Writing Project has this thing, and it's giving us some money to mentor. Like, our site is getting $5,000 to mentor 5 new teachers. And those teachers are getting a stipend from the national office for being a National Panda Fellow. And they're just separate. And I mean, you can do it one-to-one, but that's up to you. I mean, you could, if you had 5 fellows.
I'm a little confused, but that is not a big deal.
If you had 5 fellows, for instance, Jonathan,
yeah,
you could take $5,000 from the National Writing Project. You could pay 2 mentors, each $2,500. Right? It doesn't, how much you pay them isn't attached to how much a Panda Fellowship gets.
So the mentors would be called Panda Fellows.
No.
Sorry.
The early career teachers are Panda Fellows. They each get $1,000.
Right.
From us.
Yeah.
That's totally separate from the fact that your site gets some money to mentor them, and what you do with that, you can decide how. I mean, you can straight up give 5 different people $1,000 each to be a mentor, but you could do something different.
I see. I didn't understand the second half of that. And how is the amount per site determined?
The amount per site is by the number of fellows you have.
And it's 1,000 per fellow?
Yes.
The site, oh my goodness.
Right.
So effectively it's $2,000 per fellow for the site.
Well, it's a $2,000, it's $2,500 per fellow investment.
Yeah.
$1,000 for your site, $1,000 for the young teacher who's doing a year of work, and $500 for them to spend for their literacy
for the
event.
family literacy program. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So there's so it's a $2,500 investment per fellow for yours. Potentially. I think I've got that straight. I'll go back to your PowerPoint.
You can send me more questions too. Like, could we do this? Could we do that?
And Tanya, can you talk a little bit more about the statewide event?
Yeah, well, we will add, what I can say is once we have a sense, but right now I wouldn't want to say of how much money there might be for a statewide event. And we would invite people later, I think, once we're clear about how many fellows we have. I think we would use the community to think about what that might be. So
is the statewide event intended to be for a teacher audience? I mean, because we're a big state, right? So like when you talk about a statewide event,
so
that's what I'm kind of asking.
Yeah, there isn't, I wouldn't, though I said statewide event, I wouldn't even say it would have to be one thing. It could be, and it's really open. We left it open in a way to give you some flexibility about how you might want to work together or push out information about this or connect to schools or funders who might be interested in it. So it's really a little bit of extra money to either make the work visible or to support the network of, so while I'm saying one event, like a statewide event, you could say, we propose to present at Kate and 2 other regional conferences, or
it's more about dissemination is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
But
but I feel like, I promise I'll come back with more specifics in January. I also feel like it could be to support the whole network of early career teachers. So like I said, I can't remember how much, I don't think there's enough in there to bring 50 fellows to Kate, though I did boldly say that. But you might say what we want to do is support one of these people from each site who is stellar to come to Kate, for instance. It would be like an investment in them, and you could do a presentation, and that's like, I'll try to think of some more examples and then invite you all to have other ideas as well when we talk again in January.
That dissemination or statewide event, though, would need to be done by June 30th, 2021, right? At the end of the grant.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking of the timing of Kate in February, and the family literacy events may happen in spring.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thinking through. Okay.
Right, but I think the Kate is going to be probably in Santa Clara or San Rafael or
it's in Burlingame again. In 2021, it's in Burlingame. That's the same venue last year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I mean. So it'll be convenient for us.
Yeah.
This is off topic, but I would say I think I am not on any Kate mailing list. So if anybody on this call is managing that, I would love to get on that mailing list.
That was probably intentional, Tanya.
Jonathan, you can all talk about that after I hang up. Don't tell me.
I keep forgetting.
Tanya,
Yeah.
We might have,
Kathleen has to fill me in on the etiquette of Zoom conferences. I'm still getting.
we probably have people interested that aren't on the call today.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible? We could share the slides and they might be able to join the January call?
Yes, this is a transition where I'm going to name the things that I know to be next steps,
Okay.
and you can ask me more questions after that. So yes, we know we schedule these calls to pick up as many people as we could, but Kathleen will follow up the call by sending the slides and the kind of or the slides in a note at least. Oh, and the recording. I'm like, there's something else. Slides in the recording of this call. I'm not really proud of that, but slides in the recording of this call to everybody in your network who wasn't able to make today's call. And you should spread the word far and wide. You should tell everyone on this call should know, and anyone else you talk to should know. I'm happy to entertain questions about this in the next month. So if something else comes up that you'd like to know, let me know. We come back to work, our offices are closed for 2 weeks, and we come back to work on the 6th. And in that week, Kathleen and I, well, really Kathleen, taking credit, will send you an email with a Google form asking you to let us know if you are interested in pursuing this, being part of this initiative, or if it's not a good fit for you at this time. And I have been telling people it's really helpful if you can answer that Google form, even if you're not interested, and then we know you didn't just miss it, but so it helps us just to move the planning along faster. Once we hear from everybody in early January, we will schedule the second call in January. And as I said, in that call, we'll be able to tell each site what the kind of ceiling of their recruitment can be, how many fellows they can have if they want them. We'll give you an MOU, which will name what you are agreeing to do, what you will be paid, what other people will be paid. You'll sign those, get those signed and get them turned back in. And then we think you'll know by early February that you're, or if not before, that you're approved and have money in your accounts and all of that. And you'll be able to start recruiting fellows. Then they'll come to your summer event, you'll assign them mentors, and we'll work together in designing a little bit, designing while we fly it, these opportunities.
So the MOU would require campus signatures?
Same as usual, but yeah.
This money's coming to campus.
Right.
Yeah.
Gloria,
Supposedly.
Yeah, the usual.
campus processing time of that MOU
Right.
is going to eat up
Yeah.
weeks, so that we might want to let our contracts and grants people know it's coming. Like I'll need to do a form to let them know it's coming even before
Me too. Yeah.
I've seen it and get out recruiting before. I mean,
Yeah, I do know, sorry. But we will at least be able to tell you how many you can recruit and that the process is on the way. So
In the past, we've usually had sort of a template for the RFP.
yeah, and right, exactly. There's no proposal for you to write. I'm going to send you an MOU, which is an agreement.
Right.
And you just sign that you agree to do these things. So it at least is short on that front end. You don't have to write a proposal.
Yeah, right. And the deadline again for getting those back to you would be?
I'm not going to, I'll tell you in January, but basically if you agree and it takes you longer to get your MOU in, we're not going to kick you out. So.
Okay. So it's not like our state grants that have a very fixed.
Right. We'll have the money. We'll want to give you the money, and we'll try to support you to be able to get that money as soon as possible.
Got it.
Good.
2 questions.
Go ahead, Tim.
What are the 6 other states or 7 other states? And
I knew you would ask.
what are the questions that got asked on those calls that were really good questions that we forgot to ask?
Oh man, this is why you shouldn't have the call Friday at 4. Okay, so first of all, Kathleen will support me if I can't get this, but I'm going to try to do it from memory. So Georgia, Illinois, Texas, Arizona, Washington State, and Nevada.
Huh, great. That might help get Nevada going in their writing project.
I actually think, just to say, I think it's a perfect opportunity for them. They have a great early career teacher. I mean, a great elementary school teacher leader. It's sort of exactly the right size. I already talked to them. I think you're right, Jonathan.
Good. I'm very pleased to hear that.
And then Tim's second question about their questions. Kathleen should help me too. So a lot of people have asked the question that you've already asked and we've discussed about figuring out how to include people who are going to be part of this fellowship in a summer institute with other people who aren't, and questions about how to talk about that and how to manage the money around that. A thing that you haven't asked that people have asked a lot is whether we have a particular theoretical framework or requirement of the family literacy programs, which we don't. I think we have a lot of great models within the writing project that people could draw on, and we will present some information. We'll present some things to the early career teachers from our end about working with families and working from a strengths-based view of families, but what you support people to do and what they decide to do at their school, we'll give, like I said, we'll share lots of ideas, but that'll be up to you. Kathleen, can you think of other questions that people ask that?
I'm just going through the notes and I actually don't see much except some people had mentioned maybe collaborating with Panda Expresses on their campus or nearby as opportunities for like getting donations and places to exhibit stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so people had a range of feelings or relationships with Panda Express, like they're right on our campus, or they're on every block, or there isn't one in our town. So we are gonna we're gonna show some work that Katie, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Katie McKay's work in Texas, where she's done a lot of work of displaying real early writing in community spaces and helping people understand what they're looking at and what's being celebrated in that work. And your local Panda Express restaurant might be a great place to host an evening event or a reading or do something with families or be able to put up work that kids are producing. But it's not a requirement.
Is it likely that the manager of a local Panda Express outfit would know about this program?
Yeah, yes, they will. And we know that some Panda Expresses are interested. I can't name which ones, but we know that in general, what we've heard from Panda Cares is that their employees do volunteer work, and that some of them at least might be really interested in knowing whether they can host something or participate in some way. So we'll have more information about that as we go on, but questions about Panda Express came up.
Right. One more question is, what attrition do you anticipate? One of the problems with new teachers is retention. Even when they're really good, there are staff reductions and changes from one school to another that make it a little bit of a crapshoot. I mean, in order to get 50 at the end, I'm curious as to what your thoughts are about how to manage that.
It's a good question, and I have thought about it, and I don't have an exact answer, Bob, except to say that is part of the reason we're trying to figure out, and I don't think we have it figured out yet. Hopefully I'll have something smarter to say about this in January, and also I would be entertaining any other people's advice, but it's one of the reasons we were thinking about dividing up that or carefully placing the money that they get to try to entice them to stay in across the year, like some money at the end of the summer institute, maybe some money. But I feel like so this is maybe something I shouldn't say, but I actually feel like if we get 50 early career teachers in California to come to the Summer Institute, that even if we have attrition and they don't all do family literacy programs, that's a good investment.
That's a big win right there. Yeah.
It's a big win, exactly, that we can explain to the funder, and I think it's reasonable. So I see it as a concern for making sure that we do work that we can explain to the funder, and I'm thinking about it, but I wouldn't say that I'm worried about it.
Yeah. Well, a related question, I think for many areas in California, and certainly for ours, almost all beginning teachers work summer school because of the cost of living, as you know. And if we can work our summer institute around the summer schools of districts, it probably mean it would be in
that's a really good point.
August, then that's a very attractive financial package.
Yeah.
So is that okay if we are sort of consciously working around our anticipation that the majority of our beginning teachers would be needing the income from summer school, so that our institute would be in the interstices between summer school and school year?
Not only okay, but brilliant.
I was also thinking, so since the early career, the Panda Fellows will be stipended through the National Writing Project work, through the grant, then our local site wouldn't necessarily pay them a stipend. So that their stipend would be over and above. So we could recoup a little bit there.
Right.
And make sure that they're getting the support that they need, but they wouldn't need to be stipended twice.
Right.
They're actually going to get more and above what we're going to give everyone else anyway.
Yeah, that would be the problem.
Yeah, that would be the perk, right?
Differential.
Yeah. Well, they have extra work to do, right?
Yeah, that's right. Here's your money. Be very quiet about it.
Well, that's right.
Or you can just act shocked. What? They gave you money? I didn't know that was going to happen.
Is there any requirement that these early career teachers are public school teachers? Can they be working at?
Good question.
Good question.
I'm pretty sure there is not. I am saying tentatively. If I'm wrong, I'll check that in the grant application. I'm pretty sure there isn't. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you that before January.
Once I start thinking about how many that I think we could recruit, that's the only time it would affect. If I'm limited to public school teachers, my number will be a little lower than if it's wide open.
Yeah, I think it's not, and I will. If I'm wrong, I'll email you all as a group to tell you that I'm wrong, so you don't go down a bad path.
That would probably make a difference in our site as well.
Okay.
And since it's new, this relationship with Panda Cares is new, you don't really have a sense of what they want to see at the other end keep this relationship going.
Right.
50 Panda customers, Tim.
Yes.
Well, I do want to
orange chicken, right? I suppose.
Young.
I do have to say, first of all, like this was a cold call from them, which was very exciting for us. And then Elise and I were like, where are the, like, we're suddenly so aware of Panda Express restaurants, and you might be too. Like, I believe part of the reason that this felt like we have heard from the network. I'm not making that part up. We have heard from the network more work in elementary schools and early career, and more kind of openness to, not just work that happens in classrooms in the school day. So like, that's all things we know we want to do more of. we did feel like elementary school writing and family events felt like a thing that we could make a lot of hay from, as far as having a public face, interacting with the local restaurants where it's appropriate. I think they are very new to education funding. They've been doing some family work and maybe also funding some things in healthcare. I'm not sure, but they were really open to us setting the parameters and telling them what to expect. And I think with your help of documentation of what kinds of supports are helpful and what kind of family literacy experiences can be developed, I feel really confident that we're gonna have happy funders at the end of this grant.
Great.
And I also think, as you're pointing out, Tim, they seem like a foundation who wants to get people in their family and be able to make recurring grants. So we're hopeful that this is that kind of opportunity. And just to say, we also, I said it was a cold call, but it actually came from a funding aggregator at JP Morgan, where they work with several family foundations. So we're also hopeful that with a successful completion of this grant, that will also be on their radar. So it may lead us to other foundations as well. So it feels like a really exciting opportunity to do work that might be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, I think, in terms of the generosity of the guidelines.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, there's always costs and benefits, but it is kind of nice to have a funder who just says, you're the expert, so what would be good?
Right.
Yeah. And then to be able to say that to you all, you're the expert. What do you want to do with some with some early career teachers?
Good.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, I've kept you late on a Friday night. I'm really thankful for all your great questions. Like I said, I'm around in the next month. So if other questions occur to you, follow up. Otherwise, you'll hear from Kathleen in that first full week of January, and we'll get to work setting a next meeting for everybody who wants to participate.
Well, thank you for your clarity.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm glad I wasn't feeling I was at my clearest, Bob, so I really appreciate that actually. But yeah, let me know if anything occurs to you that you want to talk about. But otherwise, have a great end of the year and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.